Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going deep. We're going to break down exactly how a hacker can take complete control of a computer, all starting with just one single malicious file.
So, how does this even happen? How can one click be so catastrophic? Well, it all starts with a very cleverly crafted piece of code. You can think of it like a digital skeleton key, designed for one purpose and one purpose only: to open a secret door from the victim's computer right back to the attacker. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to follow the hacker's playbook step by step. We'll start with forging the weapon, then setting the trap, and we'll follow it all the way through to a total system compromise.
Every single attack needs a weapon, right? And in the world of these client-side attacks, that weapon has a specific name. It's called a payload.
Think of this payload as a tiny digital secret agent. It's sent behind enemy lines with just one mission: to phone home. Its entire purpose is to establish that secret line of communication back to its master.
Now, you might be thinking, hackers are sitting there in dark rooms writing all this code from scratch, but honestly, they usually don't. They use incredibly powerful tools to generate these payloads for them, and one of the most famous is a tool called MSF Venom.
Okay, I know this looks like a bunch of technical gibberish, but stick with me. This one line of code is basically just a recipe for creating our malicious file. Let's actually break down what each little part of this command does.
So what's so cool here is how this command translates into simple instructions. The -p part is the what. What are we building? A reverse shell for Windows. lhost and lport are the where. Where does this thing need to call back to? And finally, -f and o are the how. How should it be packaged? As an executable file named payload.exe. Simple as that. Now, creating the payload is really only half the battle. The agent is ready to be sent out, but there's no one home to receive its call. So the attacker now needs to set up what's called a listening post to actually catch that connection when the payload calls home. You see, these are two sides of the exact same coin. The payload is the messenger that makes the call, and the listener, which is set up with a tool called MSF Console, is the home base waiting to answer the phone. One is totally useless without the other.
So the attacker configures their listener to expect the exact type of call from the specific payload they just created using the very same IP address and port number. It's kind of like tuning a radio to the correct frequency, and once that's set, they just have to wait.
So the trap is set. The payload gets delivered to the victim, usually through some kind of social engineering. Maybe it's disguised as an invoice, a photo, or a critical software update. The attacker waits, and then it happens. The victim double-clicks the file. And boom! This is the climax. This single simple line of text appears on the attacker's screen. That's it. They're in. They now have a direct command line connection to the victim's machine.
Okay, so they're in, but what can they actually do? Right now, they only have access as a standard user. Think of them as just a guest in the system, and what they really want is to be the owner. They need the keys to the entire kingdom. So to get that full, unrestricted control, the attacker needs to do something called escalating their privileges. They need to go from being a normal user to the all-powerful system administrator. The main thing standing in their way is this: Windows User Access Control, or UAC. Come on, we've all seen this pop up a million times. The problem for the attacker is they can't just click yes from their remote terminal to give themselves admin rights. They have to find a way to bypass it completely. So what do? They pull another specialized exploit out of their toolkit. This one targets a specific vulnerability in Windows that lets them get around that security feature without ever needing to see the pop-up. And once the bypass is successful, they run one single powerful command: get system.
And here is the result of that one command. Look at the power shift. The attacker has gone from being a limited guest account to NT authority system. That is the highest level of control possible on a Windows machine. They now own the system, lock, stock, and barrel.
So with this level of access, it's pretty much game over. The attacker can steal every password, read private documents, install software that gives them permanent access, and they can even use the victim's own computer as a launchpad for more attacks. But hold on, there's a catch. Everything we've talked about so far only works if the attacker and the victim are on the same local network. So how do hackers make this work against anyone, anywhere in the world? Well, the answer is a clever technique called port forwarding.
They basically use a third-party service to create a public address out on the open internet. So when the payload, now on a victim's machine somewhere across the globe, calls that public address, the service acts like a middleman and forwards the call directly to the attacker's hidden machine on their private network.
So how does this change that recipe we saw earlier? You know what? It's a surprisingly small change. To create a global payload, the hacker just swaps their private IP address for the public URL that the tunneling service gave them. That's it. The attack is fundamentally the same, only the mailing address is changed.
And on their end, when they set up their listener, the attacker uses 0.0.0.0 as the host address. This is a special address that basically tells their machine, hey, I don't care where the connection's coming from, whether it's my local network or the other side of the planet. If it's for me, accept it.
So the really crucial point here is this. The distance between a local hack and a global one is just a few small tweaks in the configuration. The core mechanics of the attack remain terrifyingly simple.
And this whole process really highlights why cybersecurity awareness isn't just for IT pros. It's absolutely essential for everyone. Because sometimes the only thing standing between a hacker and your entire digital life is a single cautious decision before you click. Thanks for joining this explainer.